Hi, I'm Brian Welk here at TheWrap's virtual Sundance studios for 2021, and I am joined by the team behind The World to Come. I have director Mona Fastfold and stars Catherine Waterston, Vanessa Kirby, and Casey Affleck. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us,
Brian.
So, Mona, let's start with you. This is a very powerful film. It's got a lot of grief, a lot of anguish, but it's also got a lot of poetry and compassion as well. What drew you to this story and made you want to tell it?
I think that the way that the relationship is described between the two women is what made me really want to tell this story. I thought that it had a lot of depth and nuance to it, and I felt that we've seen a lot of stories about the past about extraordinary men doing extraordinary things, and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to have this story about these two normal but extraordinary in their way women.
Were there any filmmakers or other films that inspired the style that you were going for this story? Because it's very icy at times, but again, there's a lot of romance, a lot of love in it.
No, I tend to not look too much at other filmmakers when making a film, especially a film like this. I think that it's important to sort of it was more exciting to look at photography and paintings. I looked at a lot of painters from that time period and looked at how they, and for example, a painter like Oda Krog, and how she uses light and how she uses color and how she, and the clothes that the women wore in her paintings, for example, I thought was really interesting.
Okay, Catherine and Vanessa, I mean, the chemistry you two have is just immediate instantly, or excuse me, it's obvious instantly. And I want to talk, I think you're two very different characters, but you both come from similar sort of backgrounds, dealing with your own trauma and husbands and relationships that aren't really going anywhere. Talk about how you found your chemistry and what drew you to the material. Catherine, let's start with you. Yeah.
I was just talking to Vanessa about this in another interview. I had sort of seen her from afar at a party a long time ago, and I was incredibly intrigued by her even then, and obviously had already seen her work and just thought she was extraordinary. So I think it certainly helped, because I was just kind of I was like naturally captivated by her. Not like it's hard to understand why someone would be. But it bodes well when you have that as a kind of, even just like an instinctive initial response to someone, that they'll probably get along and probably have a good time together. And then when we got on set, I had been so desperate for it to be her. So I was so relieved then when she did accept the role. It took all the worry out of it, both Casey and Vanessa. Like, when your scene partners are brilliant actors, that takes care of so much of the stress going into a project, because I don't know, I can't explain it any other way except for that every time I've worked with a really good actor, I felt supported by them. So it just, I don't know, it takes care of a lot of the anxiety. And so by the time I met Vanessa, I was just so excited to work with her, and kind of felt ready to go rather than trepidatious,
Okay. And Vanessa?
I love her.
I love you more. It felt like instantly, as soon as I read the script, I just thought, oh, it's just such, more than anything, the most beautiful love story. And to think that the pain of meeting someone fleetingly in those times when geographically it might take you 2 hours to walk to them, and then as a woman not be able to choose what you do with your minutes of your day, and you're literally like shackled to the home and your husband and the building that you live in. And to me, it was just like this beautiful little poem of love where these two people, see each other. And I think vulnerability is intimacy, and they have both those things. And you know, it's a love, but it's also like a soulful love, really, in a way, more than lust. I think it's a love of being seen. And it broke my heart that these two people that may well have lived, you know, in many different forms and different places and different spaces throughout history and time, who weren't allowed to choose love, and that really moved me so much, and I felt so grateful to be a small part of it.
Ah, small part. Surrounded by all these modest people. Give me a break.
There's so many parts of it. Even my lovely costume, guy who like spent hours trying to get shitting shoes on my feet every day.
Kirby broke her ankle on the first day of shooting, so she had this swollen ankle. The shoes, you couldn't barely get them on. She was in pain the whole shoot, and
wow.
And
I couldn't walk. Yeah, it was a nightmare. And
good.
Mona had built these incredible houses that were like true to, completely in situ. It wasn't a studio, thank God. So we had to, sometimes you had to walk like, I don't know how long. The crew literally wheelbarrowed me up a massive hill to get me to set one day. It was so embarrassing. I'm down in the pitch black dark after. I was so embarrassed.
After carrying up the camera and all the equipment.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. And there was like 6 of them because I couldn't walk for most of the shoot. So.
And then of
they
course
loved it. I think they felt very heroic.
Actually, there was, he did he carried me everywhere.
I'll carry you, darling. Yeah, it was very.
He did.
And of course, you have to endure this horrible snowstorm, this avalanche in the movie. I mean, I don't know if that was one of the bigger challenges as well for really the entire cast. But speak to what some of the bigger challenges were.
I think that was a great challenge for Mona, actually, to make it look like that. I don't want to destroy the movie magic, but it didn't quite look like that. We went to Romania for the snow, and then it didn't really snow while we were there that much. So just one of the many potential, probable signs of climate change, because normally they get like
a lot of snow up in the mountains. I had one day.
Yeah,
1 day of snow, and the rest we had to create. But even if we had a lot of snow, creating a blizzard is it's a complex ordeal. So that's that this blizzard is movie magic, but it was unpleasant for you guys, I'm sure, to shoot it. Or was it? I don't know. I enjoyed it tremendously, but I mean,
I had a great time in it. Actually.
Yeah.
Casey, you're also a producer on this film, and I think you have an incredible scene in this where you also show a vulnerable side, and it reveals maybe there is a little bit of love in this marriage. It's not totally icy, and
no,
yeah,
love.
And so, I mean, talk about getting into your character's headspace. What drew you to this project? Yeah.
I loved the script. I thought it was great. The story was great. The writing was great. We just lucked out with having a great director, and she found a great cast. And so there was nothing not to like about it. The character was probably I was just sort of, it was such a great script, and that I sort of felt like I was, kind of happy to be there. I remember one day, the first day I got there, so it was sort of, we were all staying in a little hotel, and there was out in the front where these guys were all sitting around on a table rehearsing, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were like pointing at words in the script, and they were very animated and talking to each other, and to anyone else it would have looked like they were arguing, but I knew that they were
geeking out,
just excited, and I just thought like, oh man, this is going to be really good. And then I thought I'll spend most of my time watching them from a distance, probably, because that's sort of what my character does: feed the horses and make fire and cut the wood and stuff. But I couldn't have been happier to be there, and there are some scenes that are great between me and Catherine, Um, and I won't get into the whole story of it, but there's definitely a lot of love there, and it's a really heartbreaking relationship. Catherine's relationship with her husband, and her relationship with Vanessa, and her relationship with her daughter. She's an extraordinary character.
Yeah,
but go on.
Well, just want to say, when you asked Casey what drew him to this, he drew all of us to it because he found this project and he produced it. So I just wanted to give him that shout out, and we're really grateful about it. But also just that it is a film so much about vulnerability and intimacy, and the male characters are not excluded from that, or at all shortchanged by the writers. And it was something I was so attracted to about this character, was that I got to play these two relationships, and that the relationship with Dyer, and Abigail's relationship with Dyer, is so important in this, and really creates a kind of tension there, that this isn't simply a story of two women who are like, oh, we have deadbeat husbands, let's fall in love. The relationships are complex, so it did something for me, really something important. I don't know that I can articulate in the scenes with Kirby, that I had this loving relationship that I was essentially risking.
We've seen a couple of other LGBTQ films, period dramas, in recent years. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is one that came to mind for me as I was watching this. Why do you feel this sort of story is so crucial right now to explore the different nuances of characters like this who, probably lived, as you said earlier?
I do think that a couple is really specific, because it's really only two, and then we're the third. So I think that I wish that there were even more films exploring relationships that are not just the ones that we've seen always before, again and again, in the past, in the present, and even in the future. I think that one of the reasons probably why for me it was exciting to go into a period piece is because these relationships have always happened, but there's a tendency to think of it as something modern, perhaps, like this is a modern love story, and it's not. This is part of our history. It's just an untold part of our history. So it's important to look back and see, like, these we stand on the shoulders of many, many women before us. And I think maybe so. Yes. So if there's other people who are drawn to look at the past and explore the past and tell stories about the past and claim their place in it, then that's wonderful.
Also, I think it's a good and fair question, but people don't say, "My God, there are so many hetero stories this year. What do you think that's about?" I would say that there aren't really that many LGBTQ stories. There are just a little bit more than there were last year, right. But there's still a minority to the extent that it becomes remarkable, and people go, "Oh, look, it's a story about a relationship that's not between a man and a woman." When there are a lot of them, it'll stop being a topic, and they'll just become a story about family that lost their kid and a woman who found solace with another woman and blah blah blah. It won't be an LGBTQ story.
Then there'll be, this is one of the romances that came out this year, or this is one of the love stories, And I think you can easily compare this film to other love stories, and then they'll have a place in everyone's heart. Hopefully, that's what we aim for.
Okay. Were there any other any other major challenges that you had to deal with as you were going through this? Just what was the biggest challenge for you as a director, Mona?
Biggest challenge for me is just time. We generation before me just had, at least to my knowledge, had so much more time to shoot. and we had 24 days to make a period piece with animals, and with a lot of text and a long screenplay. So that's very challenging to do that, and to be allowed to shoot on film, and to be allowed to think a little bit bigger than a living room and present day, and those are the challenges I think that we faced, but that we did it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. It's a lovely film, and best of luck at the remainder of the festival.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Brian.